Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, today we completed the 28th juz. First surah in this juz, I will try to touch on a few surahs, a few ayat, a few incidents that took place. The first surah in the 28th juz is Surah Mujadala. Mujadala, the word Mujadala means the woman, the lady who debated, who came and argued. What is the Shani Nuzul? What is the reason that this surah came down? Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam one day was in his home with Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. And Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha is combing Janabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's hair, when a woman by the name of Khawla bint Tha'laba radiallahu ta'ala anha comes. And she says, Ya Rasulullah, my husband, who was Aus ibn Thabit radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Aus ibn Thabit radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he has done dhihar with me. He has said, Anti alayya ka dhahri ummi. That my husband, me and him, we have a lot of mahabba and love between us. And we have very small children. But he said in anger, he said dhihar. So Ya Rasulullah, give me a ruling, give me a way to go back to my husband. At this time, the ahkam of talaq had not come down yet. So what the norm was that if a person wanted to divorce his wife, he would say, you are to me like my mother. You are to me like my mother. And in that, if a person said this, then there was no way for the wife and husband to be together again. Even after three divorces, if the woman gets married to someone else and she gets divorced from that second husband, she still could not come back to the first husband. So Rasulullah said, that dhihar has been done, you are separated. He said, Ya Rasulullah, please give me a ruling, make some way for me that I can go back to my husband. My whole life has gone. I'm old now. I spent my whole life with him. I gave him so many children. If I cannot go back to him, where will I go? Ya Rasulullah, do something for me. And she keeps insisting. And Rasulullah at a point, he became quiet. He became silent. He did not say anything after. And she's still insisting, Khawla bint Tha'laba radiallahu ta'ala anha. And when she realized that Rasulullah is not answering her, he's not replying to her, she said, if Ya Rasulullah, you're not going to listen to me, I will speak to your Rabb then. And she raised her hands, and she began to say, Ya Rabbi, oh Allah, where am I going to go? If these children stay with me, then who is going to feed them and take care of them? And if they stay with the father, who is going to do their tarbiyah? Ya Allah, you, on the tongue of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, through Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, reveal down wahi for me. After some time, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's face changed, and he began to sweat, and his eyes shut, as a sign of wahi. These were the things that would come and happen to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, in one narration, that when wahi comes to me, it is as if a loud bell is ringing, and I feel a huge burden on my shoulders and my head. So when this kayfiyat starts, the Sahaba and the close people knew that wahi is coming down. So Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she says, Khawla, be quiet, wahi is coming down. Stay quiet, listen, let's see what happens. Khawla bint Tha'laba radiallahu ta'ala anha, seeing this, that wahi is coming down, instead of staying quiet, she began to make dua even louder and more. Why? Because she was scared that the wahi should be in her favor, not against her. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed down, قَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّتِي تُجَادِلُكَ فِي زَوْجِهَا وَتَشْتَكِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, above the seven heavens, above the arsh, heard the woman who came and complained about her husband. وَاللَّهُ يَسْمَعُ تَحَاوُرَكُمَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ بَصِيرٌ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed down the ahkam of dhihar. That if a person from now on ever does dhihar, he will have to give a penalty. He will have to give a penalty and then he can go back to his wife. And this custom of jahiliyyah of doing dhihar was abolished. And it was replaced with talaq. It was replaced with this system of talaq, which, subhanAllah, is one of the surahs later in the juz. Khawla bint Tha'laba radiallahu ta'ala anha, once in the time of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, she was walking and she came to Umar ibn Khattab. So she was very old. Imagine, she was already old at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu was Khilafah for 2.5 years. And Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala was Khilafah for 10, 11 years. So imagine how old she is now. She's very old. But she stops Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala in his tracks. And she asks him for something. So the way Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala bent down and kneeled and he went close to her and he listened to her with so much respect and adab, the Sahaba, the people around him, they were confused. So after she left, the people said, "Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, why would you stop for such an old woman like this? Why would you show so much respect?" So Umar ibn al-Khattab says, "Wayhak, woe to you, what are you talking about? Do you know who this is? This is Khawla bint Tha'laba, because of whom until the end of time Quran has been revealed, Surah Mujadala." So this is the Shan al-Nuzul of Surah Mujadala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about Zihar. And then He talks about His going off of this topic. That the fact that He heard above the 7 heavens a woman's cry, He reiterates this point, that He sees everything and He hears everything. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He, in the next surah, Surah Hashr, means, which is the exile, which has the meaning of exile. The end of the previous surah ended off with jihad and the accounts of Badr. The next surah talks about how the tribe of Banu Nadir, this was a tribe in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu in Medina al-Munawwara, who had an oath with him, and they broke their oath. And one of the reasons that they broke their oath and they got the courage to break their oath with the Prophet of Allah sallallahu was the hypocrites in Medina at the time, who said that أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ نَافَقُوا يَقُولُونَ لِإِخْوَانِهِمُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Do you not see, do you not remember when those hypocrites told their brothers, the Yahud, that if you are to be exiled because of this breaking of this treaty, we will come out with you. And if you have to fight, we will stand with you and fight. The hypocrites are telling the Jews, Banu Nadir this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals down the Quran, and He explains the traits of the Yahud, and He explains their inner, what's inside their heart. And He swears and He takes an oath that we swear and testify that they are liars. That if the Banu Nadir was to fight and they were to be exiled, they would never go with them. They would stay with the Muslims with the hypocrisy. And that is exactly what happened. That Banu Nadir was kicked out and the munafiqs did not help him. The hypocrites did not go with him. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He details the qualities of these munafiqeen. He details the qualities of a munafiq, that once He says, ayatul munafiqi thalathun, idha haddatha kadhaba, that there are 3 signs of a munafiq. You know, now in our time, we don't have real hypocrites, meaning who are away from the Islam, who are two-faced. Rather, we have people who are Muslim but have qualities that are rooted so deep into their lifestyle and the way they are that they resemble the munafiqs. So Rasulullah said, ayatul munafiqi thalathun, that the signs of a munafiq are 3, stay away from them. Idha haddatha kadhaba, when he talks, he lies. Whenever he speaks, whatever comes out of his mouth, it's a lie. إِذَا حَدَّثَ كَذَبَ وَإِذَا وَعَدَ أَخْلَفَ. When he makes an oath, when he makes a promise, he always goes against it. His quality, his nature is to break his promise. وَإِذَا اؤْتُمِنَ خَانَ. And when a munafiq, a person of this quality, of this nature, is entrusted with something, and an amana, he's given something to keep, he always betrays that amana. So this is the qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the surah explains. The next surah is Surah Mumtahina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again the surah is revealed because during the Badr, during the preparation for Fath Makkah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we had mentioned yesterday, 2 days ago, how in Surah Hudaybiyah, the Muslims had to apparently take defeat, where the Sahaba could not bear it. They were thinking, how can we take such defeat that we are putting our arms down and we're surrendering ourselves? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ironically is saying that this surrendering is a fath, is a victory. إِنَّا فَتَحْنَا لَكَ فَتْحًا مُبِينًا. Now, the reality is shown that because of this treaty, Muslims came from all corners. And as a result, when the Muslims were preparing to take control of Makkah, there were more than 10,000 Muslims with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So at this time when he was preparing for this journey to go and conquer Makkah, there was a Sahabi by the name of Hatib ibn Abi Balta' radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Hatib ibn Abi Balta' radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, what he had done was that he had family in Makkah al-Mukarramah. And now the Muslims were preparing to go conquer the city, Makkah al-Mukarramah. And he had family there and he had no one else to protect his family there. So out of this fear and out of this khawf that what is going to happen to my family when we reach Makkah, or if the kuffar find out that the Muslims are coming, they're going to take my family and harm them. They're going to take my money and destroy it. So out of this fear, he was a mukhlis, a sincere sahabi, he wrote a letter detailing not the secret, but just telling that we're coming in this manner, we're coming soon to the mushriks. His hope was that if I help the mushriks in this manner, if I tell them that we are coming, they might have some mercy on my family and on my money. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed down the Quran. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّخِذُوا عَدُوِّي وَعَدُوَّكُمْ أَوْلِيَاءَ تُلْقُونَ إِلَيْهِمْ بِالْمَوَدَّةِ وَقَدْ كَفَرُوا بِمَا جَاءَكُمْ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. That, oh, you who believe, don't take those, the enemies of Islam, the kuffar, as your friends. They may seem as your friends, but they're not your friends. So when the ayah and the wahy is revealed, and Rasulullah knows about this, he sends Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and Zubayr ibn al-Awwam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, to go catch the messenger of Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a. Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a's messenger was who? She was a woman who was involved in fornication, and she was a singer. You know, at that time, the people who used to sing and used to be singers and who used to do the music industry for the people were the low-class people. The people who were looked down upon. They used to come from outside the city, from far. They used to come to the city, do their singing, do other things for men, and they would leave. Now what has happened, the people who sing in our time are the highest celebrities. Their shoes and their clothes and their perfume and their lifestyle is looked at, and everybody wants to be like them. But this was not the case at that time. So this woman, she was a singer. But when the Battle of Badr happened, and the victory of the Muslims happened over and over when the mushrikeen were defeated, they were brought down. And who were the ones who used to use these women? Obviously the ones who had money. And those were the leaders of Makkah. And all these leaders of Makkah had been slaughtered and killed by the Muslims. So now she had no profession. So she came to Medina to look for something. Rasulullah found out. He asked her, he said, why are you here? She said, Ya Rasulullah, what are you talking about? What am I supposed to do now? My profession is gone. So she had come to Medina, and the Sahaba had seen her. So Hatib ibn Balta'a, knowing that she's going back to Makkah, he gave her this letter. The letter that he wrote to give to the mushrikeen. When the wahy came down, Ali ibn Abi Talib and Zubayr ibn Awwam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, subhanAllah, are sent to the exact place where this woman is. Rasulullah said, go and find her, you will find her here. When Zubayr ibn Awwam and Ali ibn Abi Talib and the Sahaba reached her, they found that woman exactly there. They went to her and they stopped her and they said, where is this letter that Hatib gave you? So at first she denied it. She said, I have no letter. What are you talking about? You guys are crazy. I don't have anything on me. So they said, no, show us, where is it? He said, I have nothing on me. I have no letter on me. I don't know what you're talking about. Then they searched her, they could not find it. Ali radiallahu ta'ala said that, Wallahi, Rasulullah is a true messenger. And Wallahi, what he says is the truth. If you do not show me this letter, I will uncover and strip you completely and I will find the letter. So when she realized that Ali ibn Abi Talib is not going to give up, she said, give me a second, turn around. She said, turn around. Imagine a person of this nature who does such disgusting things, but even then in that moment in front of men she has that haya, that in front of people who have haya, I will have haya. She told him to turn around, and then she took off her covering, her head covering, and it was in her braids. The letter was kept in her braids, and she took it out and gave to Rasulullah, and gave to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib went with Zubayr ibn Awwam. He came back to Rasulullah. Rasulullah called Hatib ibn Balta'a. He said, oh Hatib, what happened? Why did you do this? He said, Ya Rasulullah, Wallahi, I believe in you and your deen. I have nothing in my heart against the Muslims. And he explained why he had done it, that my family, I fear for my family and my wealth. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, being the Jalal, he said, Ya Rasulullah, leave me, let me cut this munafiq down. Let me kill him. Then Rasulullah said, oh Umar, settle down. Do you not know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said about those who have been in the battle of Badr? That Hatib ibn Balta'a was from the Sahaba who were there and who fought in the battle of Badr. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اعملوا ما شئتم فقد غفرت لكم. That do as you wish, we have forgiven you. So this was the Shan Nuzul of Surah Mumtahina. Going on, we go on to the end, Surah Talaq. In detail, alhamdulillah, we had mentioned before Ramadan, the detail, the beautiful system of Islam and Talaq. That Talaq is not a word that a person plays with. It is not a word that a person uses as intimidation. It is not a word that he uses to scare the wife. Rather, it is a right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the men. There are 3 arrows, you can think of it as 3 arrows and 3 bullets that are in the chamber, that are drawn, that if they are fired once, they can never be taken back. And the way to do it, Rasulullah told us, and he told us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the wahy, that when, in the Quran, when the wife and husband have difficulty and they have problems, first thing is فَبْعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. That bring a person from her family and bring a person from your family and try to resolve the matter. It's a sad, unfortunate truth. Alhamdulillah, our teachers in New York who we study from, they have the opportunity and they're continuing to work with couples. And it is so sad that every time when the form is filled and the couples come for marriage therapy, they ask, the first question is, do you have someone for your family who can support you, who can help you? And 99% of the time, the women and the men don't have anyone. They don't have family members to come and sit down with the ulama, to come and sit down and explain to them.
Because wallahi, a family member, a person, the woman and the man respects from their family, whether it's their father, their uncle, their brother, has much more effect than any alim or any sheikh can sit down and explain to them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifully says, فَبَعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. That bring a person from her family and his family and sit down and try to resolve the matter. And if still the matter cannot be resolved, then move on to giving one talaq. When? When she is in her back period, when she's in the tuhr. Why? In the tuhr where there's no intimacy. That from layer after layer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to keep the husband and wife together. And even so, if talaq happens, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we will keep them mustaghni, and we will keep them happy and wealthy. Don't you worry, because this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So this is in Surah Talaq. Inshallah, if we have more time, we can go into detail regarding the topic of talaq. It's very big and very broad. The last surah will end off, inshallah, Surah Tahrim, the last surah of this juz. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed down to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, Ya ayyuha nabiyyu, lima tuharrimu ma ahalla Allahu laka tabtaghi mardat azwajik. O Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, why do you make that which is halal, haram upon yourself? For the sole reason to make your wife happy, to make your wives happy. You know, in this time, many people, to make their wives happy, they do haram. You know, I go and I take and I earn and I do haram to please them. Rasulullah ﷺ did something that was halal for him, he just made it haram upon himself. But even then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rebuked him. Why? Because from his time to the end, every single Muslim is going to follow his example. What had happened was that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, Hafsa radiallahu ta'ala anha, being the co-wives, the jealousy that takes place between women, which is natural, that Rasulullah ﷺ had spent a little extra time in one of his other wives' homes. So Aisha told the other wives, said, when he comes to us, say, Ya Rasulullah, akalt al-maghafir? Have you eaten the plant of maghafir? Because your mouth smells. Because his other wife had given him some honey, out of love and out of mahabbah, and Rasulullah had eaten it. So just out of that jealousy that they had, just to pit against each other, he said, Ya Rasulullah, akalt al-maghafir? Have you eaten maghafir? So Rasulullah went to one house. He said, no, I did not eat maghafir, I ate honey. And he went to the second home. He said, Akalt al-maghafir, did you eat maghafir? He said, Ya Rasulullah, no, what are you talking about? I ate honey. And imagine, Rasulullah, not an ordinary person, Rasulullah would love to be pure and clean. He would hate for his mouth and his body to smell. To the extent that if a person would come to the masjid, he would say that don't eat onions. That don't harm the other person. It's very fun. And what happens today is, mashallah, we eat the pakorde and the samosa and we come, and the burp comes out and the first one is about to die. You know? So Rasulullah being his nature, being loving, being pure and being smelling good, he said, no, what are you talking about? I ate honey. So after a few times, he became frustrated and angry. He said, Wallahi, I will never eat honey again. I will never eat honey again. I make haram upon myself. But he said, don't tell that wife. Don't tell her. Why? Because he did not want to break her heart. This is the character and the mahabbah that he had. That even though he disliked something from her house, he said, don't tell the other wife. But as we know, co-wives and the jealousy, the news spread. And she was told. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed down wahi. And He revealed down the stern warning to the wives that do tawbah. And do sincere tawbah. The famous ayah, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, tubu ila Allahi tawbatan nasuha. As a lesson given to Muslims at the other time, that when a person makes tawbah, the way and the manner in which a person should make tawbah. I make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to inculcate these qualities into our life and act upon the true meaning of the Quran. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakumullah khair.